Sorry, my cooking.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm sorry, Megan. What were you going to
I
say?
was just gonna say my cooking will be quiet now. I just
Oh,
had to.
yeah.
I had to sear some meat real quick.
Yeah, well, we're not too worried about it. I think I'm more excited that you're on because I think today's conversation will hopefully help you move forward. I just got off the phone with like downloading to Rachel all the stuff that, I was like, oh my God, my mind was blown. I listened to that podcast a few times and I finally got a chance to talk with her about it. So, yeah, we'll start there. So welcome everybody. I know for some of you, you may have missed it because it was initially canceled and then we put it back on. But thank you for being here. And if you're watching on replay, I'm excited to hear what your thoughts and takeaways from the podcast that we posted in the Trailblazers thread. Before I get into that, Rachel had asked me to share her keep it simple, flexible, making coaching fun with others. She's going to be sharing that soon. And I wanted to kind of give you a preview and then you can ask any questions that you'd like around this PowerPoint. So you all should be able to see it now. This is going to be presented here this week. You guys know the 4 reasons why people coach with us. What's your story? So this is, it's interesting. I did a call with Kristen Reyes just a little while ago. And before we get into talking about the podcast, one of the things that was very clear from the start was that this client that was meeting in our room for a Coach Explorer was very clear that she did not want to coach. And it wasn't a negative. It was more of like, I'm really more interested in referring right now. Coaching is not for me right now. And so it wasn't anywhere in my mind that I was going to convince her or even cross that line because that would just be disrespectful. It would not be the things that we are, which are integral, right? What we're doing, we believe coaching helps people if they decide they want that. And so what I shared with her is really simple, which was the most powerful or impactful way you can help other people with what's helping you is sharing your story. You share your story and I'll teach you how to refer and you'll help a lot of people. And we need people like you and I'll educate you on what coaching is and you can decide how you want to go from here. So this story part is going to be powerful for new coaches, for all coaches to consider what's changed in your story, right? You guys know this as we're helping someone build a story, but take this for yourself as an opportunity to go, has my story changed? Is there something different? Am I messaging it in a way that is the old story, or there's something that I has developed since then and I can add to it? So we're going to be talking about that in the training. What are your pockets of time to work in? Obviously, we are going to be looking at those 4 to 7 hours, right? So as your new coaches are going to hear some of this information, you already have this presentation now, and you're already thinking, okay, one of the follow-up questions is, hey, I know you heard about the pockets of time. What do those look like for you, right? How can I help you to organize those in a way that will help you to accomplish what it is you're using this vehicle for: accountability, purpose, and fulfillment, healthy finances, or some variation of all. Any thoughts so far before I go any further? Questions, anything like that? Nope. Everybody good? Okay. So accountability, you're an accountability client equals a guide. Just making it really simple. One of the things that you heard on that podcast was obviously, keeping it really easy and simple. And we've been doing a lot of that work behind the scenes with the app and our process. And can I just say, we're gonna make more iterations, because as we learn and grow, just like in our own health journey, you're getting better in your own health and looking at new ways to address your health, not just your physical health. And so we're always going to be evolving the process because we want to make it simpler, but we also want to be more effective and more transformational in terms of helping people to see this in a way that could be most beneficial for them. So here are some of the things we're going to be asking, and these are great questions to ask your new coaches as well. If you want to take some screenshots, you're welcome to as well. Okay, let's see. Remember that time you spend on your health is how we stay on track, build your health community. So I think one of the key takeaways is um, we're just helping them to help people, right? And so we're always referencing it back to why they wanted to get healthy, or why do they want to help other people, why they wanted to coach, but also helping them to see that they're helping to build a healthy community, that what they're doing, the activity that they're involved with, is creating a new wave or of health in their own personal circle of influence. Um, let's organize who's been watching you and inspired. This is obviously around utilizing social media. Any questions about this page at all? This seems like something that I feel like we've done a lot of training on, but maybe the questions you may have are centered around helping people with their posts, or ways that ideas of making lists from posts. Any questions or any thoughts around this at all here before I move on here? I've got a couple more slides and then we'll go into our conversation around the podcast here. No.
I have something to add to that, because we brought on a coach and it worked really well with, is starting there with the practice calls, is starting by scrubbing their accountability post for people to reach out to. Even people that aren't necessarily interested in plan, if they're the 2 a.m. friend and they commented on their post, like that should be an indicator that they know what's going on with them. So that's just my biggest suggestion, is hit the accountability post before you reach out to people like that have no clue what you're doing.
I love that. And remind me to use your comment about the accountability post, Julie, as a jumping off point for our conversation around the podcast, because you probably know where I'm going with that. Okay, awesome. That was great. We just need 5 of them to start practicing our first skills. So, this big piece right here, I think, is probably the hinge pin of really helping them to see that this isn't selling, right? And so one of the things you want to encourage them to do is really find people that are going to be helpful in the assessment. So that's how I would position it, is like, we were going to help some people for your accountability. Who would be a great help for you? They would practice for us. They'd be like, say yes in a heartbeat. Like, I'd love to help you to do that. Who are you thinking of? Maybe they need our program. Maybe they don't, but that they would be helpful. So when you're talking to your teams and your coaches, this is really helpful to kind of phrase it that way, so that we can help people that are helpful in those calls, not necessarily people that maybe, those are obviously people that we should put in there as practice calls. We invite people to take our journey with us, no expertise. I think this is really, that first 6 clients is like, we're just showing them how easy this is. And it really is easy. It's never a complicated business. We tend to be the ones that complicated it. And I think one of this is just going to be a way for us to get better at showing people that this is why I do what I do. This is why I love this. This is, right, our story, how we're sharing that with other people. And people are going to naturally see that we're putting them in the center versus us. All right. What's next? Simplified training. So this is the training process. We're keeping the horse blinders on. Step 1, orientation. They're still on the Thursday night, growing to senior coaches in a new room. And now Thursday night, advanced training, topics that make more sense as you've added more clients, right? So this is on their way, but they're not there yet. Maybe they're 6, 7, 8. And again, this isn't you'll know your coaches well. I would even think of somebody that brings on like 10 clients right away. That doesn't mean because they're associate director now that you're like, oh, okay, we're running, right? We want to make sure the basics are here, because they just might have had, their whole family sign up, right? Or all their, Bible study group. And now you're looking at them like, oh, you're almost ED. And they're thinking, I just asked one person and they found all these people. So, use this in a way to help ensure that they really understand what our process is, how we help people get healthy, right? We're not experts at being health coaches. We're just experts at pointing people to the path that we've taken to get help and to help other people. All right. A couple last slides. See it, do it, teach it. That's the way we do it. Fun is the goal. And she's still working this one out. Are you already changing the world? Smile. Okay. All right. Any thoughts, questions before we move on to something else? Our podcast talk.
Okay, I do just a little bit. I know that we've evolved, right? Like I've been here a while, like Julie and Rick, like we've evolved how we're doing this with new coaches. So this last group of 2 new coaches, I only put them, they were doing Tuesday night meetings with us. They were doing the new coach meeting, which is now different, but that I did not put them anywhere else, right? I didn't put them in Contenders Facebook. I didn't put them in Contenders the threads, our messenger thread. I try to, when I saw something that but they may need or may like to see, then I would just put in their support thread. But sometimes I feel that support thread isn't noisy enough for myself. Like it isn't noisy. They're not asking questions. And then it becomes hard. Like with Manny right now, it's hard. I don't have time and everything. I'm like, okay, let's back away from Tuesdays. Thursdays are really great. Let's kind of regroup in your time. And let's talk about what your time is, how much time you're able to put into it. Because people are noticing him. And he's just like, well, I just want to refer to you. And I'm like, he was one I didn't even know was going to be. He just like, I want to do this. I want to help people when he first did it. So is that the direction this is going? Because I know that sometimes I don't want him to miss out, but then I want to not, because I already have a coach that I poured everything on top of her. Here you go. And she went.
I think the goal is that we're trying to just less is more. Like, they said they want to help people, and then it's like, oh my God, there's all this stuff, right? So, and there's no need for that. Really, we're just going to help them. Help their first 5 or 6 people, typically 6 people, get healthy, and we're going to have a conversation like the senior coach celebration call. Hey, I know you probably have no idea what this means, but this is what this means. And it's just an opportunity to kind of circle the wagons, make sure that you have all the tools you need, you understand the tools and how to use them, and if there's any support that you need. And are you ready to help some more people? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've got more people. And as opposed to thinking, hey, you're a senior coach now, like you got this, right? Is there anything else to clean up? Is there any support you need? And for a lot of people, this is a perfect place for them where they can meet on Thursday night. They've got their second client, third client. They really don't have any desire to do anything more. When we explored that on the senior coach celebration call, this is a great place for them to hang out. But to your question specifically, yeah, new coach, I would keep all of those things there as you were doing it with this new coach. But only thing I would add is once you've got the practice calls done and they're kind of like, got it, I did the stuff, right? And I'm just doing nothing, is a great thing would be our community time on Monday or on Tuesday. And also their training. And it's like, hey, this is a way for you to work with other people that are still working on their first 5, 6, 7, 8 clients. And I know if you're like me, I got to be refreshed on how to do certain things. And so this is a great way for you to do that. But our collective team time is important. And here's what that looks like. We'd love for you to be there so you know about all the latest and greatest things going on and just time together,
Right.
with our team. So, but that typically will come after the thing. And we usually on their, they sign up as a coach and we're like, yeah, come see the community. Invite them. Like, yeah, we'd love for you to say hi and, whatever. So all of those things I think are good ways to do it, but it's not like, oh, you got to be on every night, but they're working on getting their practice calls and you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So it's not like we're putting that team call time there for them. It's just like, yeah, we'd love for you to celebrate you and welcome you here. And then we're keeping the horse blinders on. We're still moving forward. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thanks.
Perfect. All right, Julie. Yes.
I have some recent conversation with Rachel around this exact thing, Michelle. So I'll give you what she's given me. My question to her this morning was, after she sent the message in the Trailblazers group, about not doing too much, following this, not giving them the coach app and all of that, and fire hosing them. My question was, well, Thursday nights and the texting campaigns prompts them to download the app and to make a jot form, all these extra things that we're saying are just a little too much for a brand new coach who's trying to work on practice calls. And she just said, so my question was, what do we do with that? And she said, that's what they are working with the leadership to change, is that they actually will not prompt them to do those specific things. Okay. So there are some things around that are evolving, and they're trying to figure out what the best way is to do that. So just hold tight. My suggestion is, if we can get on the new coach training, if we're not doing something else during that time, I think that that's going to be highly, that'll really help us to see what they're actually doing with a new coach on there. So we know how to proceed with that. And then, to your point about the team calls, Tim, we have them laid out. Each Tuesday has a specific purpose, and the first Tuesday of the month is welcoming new coach. So I would say until they're senior and above, what Rachel is communicating is Tuesday night is no, just Thursday night, except for maybe that first Tuesday of the month.
You're right. Yep, you're right. Yep, that is specifically designed for that. So yeah, thank you, Julie, for that. That's important. Okay, any other thoughts or questions, and then we can chat up about the podcast, because I wrote a lot of notes, and I was like, man, I had some good insights. So I'm sure you guys did too. All right, so I'll start it off, and then I'll just open it up. Julie, can you remind me your story again that you just shared? And I was like, remind me of that. So I already knew I was going to forget.
Shoot, I'd have to see the slide. I forgot.
Oh, it was about how you went to their milestone post and you scrubbed
yeah.
the milestone post.
Yeah, using that with a new coach to get their practice call set up.
Perfect. Okay. So the reason I asked you to remind me of that is because in this podcast, one of the things that I heard loud and clear was that oftentimes, because of our current process, remember I said we're working it out, right, as we speak, right? We're still it's evolving. We're getting better at this as the more information we have in terms of how to connect with people better. We don't want to trigger their sales resistance, right? Because there's the part of them that's like, oh, I just want to do this, and now I'm starting to think of I'm doing something to sell to people, and I don't like that, right? You guys have all seen that look in their eye, right? Maybe it was in your eye when you thought about coaching. Maybe it still is, but my point in saying that is with the posts that they do, the accountability posts. This is a great way to say to them as you're talking about referrals, and he was very clear to talk about the 2 times that are just the perfect times, the right times to be talking about these things, right? And so they do an accountability post. I'm so excited. You're looking at it, right, for the reasons of helping them help more people, right, with their story and their accountability post. But now you're like, look, this person was on this one. Is she someone like you that had that need? That it seems like she's really in support of what you're doing. I'm not sure if it's just because she's a cheerleader or if this is maybe a need for her. It gives you the ability to have some of those names top of mind, or maybe the people on there, maybe they're close in your circle, and you're like, your neighbor, our neighbor is watching you. And she's excited, and I know you guys spend a lot of time, right? So this is more intel for you to say, wouldn't it be cool, right? If you could help somebody by sharing what's happening with you, right, as you continue to do, but asking them, hey, I'd love to finish my journey strong. I learned that I'm 3 times more likely to finish my goals, and I was thinking of you coming along with me. I think we'd make a great team. So that's where I was wanted to use that story just to highlight how even in those things, not just with a new coach, but with a client where they're like, wow, this could be amazing, right? Just me referring other people. and I'm excited that they're getting healthy. And what's in it for me is I have an accountability buddy, right? So that may happen after, but that could be one of those times that he mentioned, right after they had something exciting happen, the program is benefiting them, and here's the time to jump in. And the time to jump in is not to say, and this was a point of distinction for me now as I'm learning more and more about this business, isn't the time to talk about coaching. It's when after the referral, it's that we need to have a quick conversation, because I could see how this could solve a problem for you. Now, how would I know that? The coach the coach explorer that I had today with the Reyeses, they have a financial need. She wasn't willing to share it with me. Once they have a referral, then it could be like, I could be giving you $25, or this could be your first client of 5 or 6. That will equal X dollars amount for you. I remember you mentioned your husband is having some issues with finances or his job. I could see this as a vehicle for you to help with that. Do you see it that way? And it could be a no, and that would be great. No big deal. I'm not open to talking about it, right? But it's not in the beginning. It's not before. And so those are the kind of things that I already know in our process. It's built differently, right? It's built differently. But it doesn't mean that even with the information you got today or whenever you listen to that podcast, that you couldn't change up the way that you talk about our program on day 4, right? Where they're like, oh my gosh, you're calling them or like, Julie, what did you put in these things? They're like, I feel like I'm on crack. I feel great. I'm excited. Who else needs the energy like you're having? Like, give me some of the people you're thinking about. They're like, oh my God, this way. Yes. Okay, great. Now, can I help you share with how you can help them to feel like you're feeling? To get the energy back, or the busy mama, or right? What other busy mamas do you know that need the energy like you told me in the health assessment? I'm crashing it too. And I want to take a nap with them and I have all the laundry to do, right? So think of ways with this new information, how you'd be using it. So those are just a few takeaways I had. I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts?
I'll go first, because something huge that I'm going to stop doing immediately is at the health assessment, after I ask that question, he really says, listen to the person and then use that as far as who. Do you have any other mom friends that need the energy that you're looking to get by getting started? And then leave it at that. Like, don't even offer a referral credit. Like, keep the business part of the business out of that conversation until after the referral comes. And I thought, oh my gosh, like the sales resistance thing is a huge piece of this that I think we just take for granted. And it's when we share on social media, it's when we have conversations. We have to know that people do have sales resistance big time. And we have to be careful with the words that we say. And so literally using that referral option out of the gate as a way for them to succeed.
Yes.
That's it. Nothing else. Like, that's it. Leave it with that. And then when the referrals come, then approaching them about, but we should know I plus Q equals A by the time we're approaching them with coaching. And that's one of the things that he says in there too, is know why your business opportunity could help them.
Yes.
And that's what you talk to them about when the time is right.
You nailed it. That was so good. I love that. Before I go to Megan, one thing that I wanted just to tag on to what you said, because it was so brilliant. There's only 2 reasons why you're not sponsoring or talking about like the benefit or how it could help them. Is you've been transactional up until this point, or not referring, or whatever it is for you, or you have a story about what this is, right? Like what referring is, what coaching is. And I just thought, it's a great opportunity for the leaders here, and if you're watching this on Playbook, to take a minute and to ask yourself, what is my role? Like, what is it that I do? How do I see myself in this story of Optavia? And start to make some corrections with it too, because I know a lot of times we have these stories that aren't really the ones that we talk about, but the ones that reside and live within us. And so when it comes to the time, we're like, oh, that might be too salesy. It's like, well, it's only salesy if you've been transactional to this point, or if you have a red light story about what coaching is or referring is, right? So that's all I wanted to add to that. Megan, please.
Yeah, so I was just kind of in agreement with Julie. That was the biggest thing that stood out to me, is taking that referrals piece out of not just the health assessment, but the celebration call. I feel like it's, it's been so, like, I've heard Amy do it. I've done it before in the past, like, to say, like, who, like, asking them, who are they thinking of? And then saying, like, if you are going to refer, I'll give you a $25 referral bonus, or we can talk about coaching. Let's do an explore call. So it's like, just, I feel like it's too much. Like, I feel that, and the people that we're talking to sometimes, like, you can almost feel that pullback as soon as you say that. And so I think that that's pretty awesome to say, okay, wait for the referral. And then when they come to you with that referral, then you say, okay, let's talk about what your options are.
Yes.
So I loved that. That was like a big, like, whoa, that's good.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think part of it is, we all have good intentions with this. And I think, we've been following a certain system that just the logic made sense. And it seemed to work for some people, and I think one of the things that we're finding is like, it's time to look at how we do it. And it's time to demystify, like, talking about referrals and coaching, and here's the way that I see it. The way that I see it is, our job, and if we're going to help a lot of people, our job is to be masters at getting referrals and masters at getting new clients. Whether you're picking up the phone, you're out in the world meeting people. I did that all weekend. I met 20 people I'd never met before, and everybody knows what my story is with coaching. And it wasn't like, here's my story. It was just came in conversation, right? They got to know what I do and why I love it so much, what it's done for me. So, but my point in saying all that is, the reason why I believe that we're not out looking for coaches is because they will self-identify. So if you're just sharing your story and you're getting the word out, whether it's in social media, right, and you have this new client, they're excited, and you're doing the tips that we learned from the podcast, eventually you will have so many referrals and clients referring you that they will go, I need this. I'm ready. I would love to start helping people. Those are the coaches that we are like, yes, right? The one like you, that you're like, yes, I found a Julie, I found a Megan, I found an Eric, I found a Michelle, right? Does that make sense? So part of it is just going to be, us finding more people. And we're going to teach our coaches to do the same thing. Find more people, right? Refer, show how to refer, use the tools that we're using to use what they were affected by. And eventually their coaches, their clients are going to have so many people that are like, yes, I could help. They're just going to be the doorway. You'll have lots of doorways open to finding people that have a heart for this mission because of what they've experienced. And now they're just like, yes, I have the time. I'm not like, well, I only got a couple hours. How long does this thing take? No, this is like, yes, I love this, right? And some people may take more time. And that's why we have spaces for them to kind of hang out and grow and decide later on if they want to do a little more or a lot more, right? Like you had talked about earlier, Julie, with the calls and stuff. So awesome. Anybody else? Any other
I'll
thoughts?
have to come back. I had just walked in the door, so I haven't watched the podcast yet, but I'll make sure I watch it after this. I literally just walked in the door when I hopped on this call.
Yeah, send me a message. I'm curious what you think about it, Eric.
Yeah.
Your thoughts are. I'd love to.
I will, absolutely.
Cool. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? I'll share with you a couple of things. Michelle, did you?
I did it today with she's a newer client. We did a Coach Explorer with her with she's interested but not yet, and the really nice lady. She did MetaFast before Optavia, so I did the like, I'm like, wow. I mean, she's lost all this weight and she's talking about how she's feeling. Now she's got off her meds. I'm just like, oh my gosh, is there, like, are people, people know, is there anybody that that would love to feel like what you're feeling? Just kind of bringing it to that, not like who else wants to do this with you, right? Like having that face, I really been thinking I'm going on a girls' trip in a few weeks. and it's going to be interesting how people see me. And so we talked about that. So I didn't like ask for referral. I'm just like, who's noticing you? And or what he said is like, you know, you've wanted to have your knees not hurt. You wanted to be able to play with your great nieces and nephews. Do you know anybody that, you know, is struggling with that and looking for that too? And getting away from saying referral, right? Just who? I don't
Yes.
need to tell them that. This podcast, I listened to it in the car Saturday. I need to listen to it again. And like here in my office and listen to it again, because it had a lot of great information. And it was just like, so like, kind of, oh, it's that easy.
Yeah,
to
it was
simple.
so
Two
good. I
things.
felt the same way. Yeah, it was so good. I love that. Yeah, I think the work that we all are going to have to do is, you know, when we see those moments, we talk about those moments, we kind of cue ourselves like on our paper or however we're doing the health assessment. This is it. This is what's going to lead me to this referral question, which is, man, like, yes, this, who else needs this thing? Like, okay, I know you're excited. I'm excited for you. You're going to love what happens here. But who else needs this in their life? This specific thing. Who's got, right? So I think, and then what we have to do is share the stories. Share the stories often. I'm going to just tell you, Rachel was just sharing this story with me that's just powerful because we're just helping people, right? And we're staying in our lane. We're not trying to make them do things they don't want to do. You guys all know Sheila Calvo, right? And so Sheila came from a client of ours that told Rachel from the very beginning, look, I'm not going to coach, but I will refer people to you. And she was like, great, right? And so this client is, Sheila was one of them, right? Now Sheila's helping all these people. Guess who wants to coach now because she's been watching Sheila have so much fun. About a year later, is saying, hey, everybody, I want to do what Sheila's doing, and I'm open to it. So the power is just in how we handle those opportunities, and if we remain transformational. And when I say that, I'm talking about as we're, you know, there's a transactional side of our business, but it doesn't have to be the way we relate to people, especially people we're meeting. There's conversations that need to be had transactionally, but for the most part, those are easy and our process is simple enough to help them to figure that out, the transactional part. So great conversation today. Thank you so much. I'll post this in the thread here and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.